We know just by reading the articles that November 9th, 1909, Basil had planned to take the midnight train to Paris. And intended at the Victoria station, saw a man fitting Basil's description right into the train just before it departed. Because of the eyewitness, Scotland Yard had concluded that Basil was on the train that night and stopped all investigations. The question is, where did Basil go that night if he wasn't the man running for the train? Where's Basil? I'm fairly encouraged with the direction of this case. I was able to find Basil's personal belongings on display in the Mayfair Historical Society, and with that's a small fee, they're able to email me copies of his letters, pictures, and diary. Here's the diary.
Tonight, I went to a crush at Lady Brandon's. I became conscious that someone was looking at me. That's when I first met Dorian Gray. I can't believe how completely Dorian has changed. Today he begged and threatened me to tell him about the portrait.
We're making incredible progress. From the evidence that we had gathered from Basil's personal belongings, the name Dorian Gray and Henry Wharton came up often. Hi, I'm Noah Kaufman. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Developments of these documents are lost by time. You know, no matter how much things change, these cases still come down to witnesses and looking at what the people say. Certainly in the modern age, we wouldn't just take a person's word. We would investigate everything that was said and prove as they were true. If it were not, or it was unknowingly connected to hidden clues. What makes this case disturbing, besides it being only open for 8 weeks, is that no one reported the subject missing until 6 months later. So all the witness statements are from people who had to remember 6 months previously. I totally agree with you. I was just trying to remember what happened last week. But have you noticed that although these statements were taken 6 months ago after the fact, the series of events coincide? Here. The butler, Parker, said that Basil was. Then he checked his Waterbury watch and ordered the carriage to leave around 8 o'clock. He then bid me to drop his luggages off at Victoria Station. He said he had somewhere to go first. Before I set out, I saw him wear a gray ulster and leave on foot with his Gladstone bag. Are there any acquaintances that live within walking distance? Yes, sir. Lord Henry Wharton at Curzner Street and Mr. Dorian Gray at Grosvenor Square. Is Mr. Hallward close to any one of these gentlemen? At one time, nearly 20 years ago. Are they not close now? I don't think so. My master is quite a sensitive man whose main interest is his art. I've known both Lord Wharton and Mr. Gray since they were young, and both have been grown to be quite wild with ever-present rumors. I've always feared the influence they may have on my master, but it was unnecessary. Can you please state your name in your own words what happened that night of November 9th, 1909? November 9th is the day before my birthday, and a very good friend of mine, Lord Henry Wharton, held a party in my honor. What time did you leave? Left after 11 o'clock. Why did you leave so early? It was starting to get loud, so I thought it would be relaxing to walk home. Did you go straight home? I did not get home till nearly 3. No, sorry. I'm forgetting stuff. I actually went to the club. No, I didn't mean the club. I didn't go to the club. It was a nice night outside, so I went on a walk. Sorry, forgot what I did. I came back 2:30. If you don't believe me, ask my servant. Do you know Mr. Basil Hallward? Of course. Basil and I are the best of friends. Do you know anyone Mr. Hallward was close to?
No, Basil's not close to anyone. He likes his art better than he likes his friends.
Mr. Francis White, how long have you been a valet for Mr. Dorian? Almost 20 years, sir. In your own words, can you tell what happened the evening of November 9th, 1909? I helped the young master dress for dinner. Because he was cold and I suggested him to wear his winter fur coat and call for our carriage. The young master left around 7 o'clock. I was doing my duties in front, bell rang at 9 o'clock. It was Mr. Hallward calling from our master. I told him master was out, but he insisted that he needed the master. So I took him to the library. At 11 o'clock, he said he had to catch a midnight train. It was so cold, I offered him a carriage. He refused and told me that I should get some rest. I fell asleep at some point and was awoken by the front bell. It was my master. He'd forgotten his latchkey. Did Mr. Hallward have anything on him? Yes. He was wearing a gray ulster and carried a leather Gladstone bag. I'm sorry to bother you, Lord Wharton. I'll make this quick. Can you tell me what happened November 9th, 1909? Of course. I slept in quite late. My valet has taken to using cold water to rouse me. What a funny story. And then she said 42! Oh, dear Dorian was worth it. Do you know what time Mr. Gray left? How can I forget? It was about the time when Mr. Chapman stepped on Lady Brandon's hem. Let me tell you the noise she made. And I had no idea the pair got out when the footman... Oh, yes. He left before 11 o'clock. Do you know Mr. Hallward? Of course I know Basil. We went through Oxford together. Quite chap. He has a wonderful genius for painting, let me tell you. His father wanted him to take the bench. But poor Basil couldn't last 2 days in the Middle Temple. He would have made a horrible judge. Too kind. Absolutely terrible people. Do you know if Mr. Hallward has any enemies? Basil was not clever enough to have enemies. Not clever enough. I already see several clues and new avenues to this research. Do you have anything else? As you know, Francis was Dorian's valet. But prior to 1891, Victor Dubois was. But it seems in the fall of 1891, Victor married Lady Radford's maid, who was Francis's sister. They apparently moved to France, where they keep an English dress shop. What's even more interesting is that the Dubois family gave me access to the online files. I printed out 3 letters that can be very helpful to this case. I'm also waiting for a response from the Leaf family. Sometimes I can't believe what you can find on the internet these days. May I see the letters, please? This is an amazing amount of information in here. There are so much things that overlap. It seems that if only Francis had told the truth, this whole case would have been solved. True, but as you can see in the second letter, he was afraid. I'm really interested to see what you can find when you finally talk to Dorian's housekeeper's family. I do suggest you should research Alan Campbell, though. His role in this mystery is suspect. We got some new information about Basil. I'm excited where this is going. I recently got in contact with Mrs. Leaf's descendant, Sarah Andrews. She has some objects of Mrs. Leaf that she would like to show me. She lives an hour away, so that's where we're going.
Hi, my name's Noah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Andrews. Come on in.
have a seat. I laid everything out for you. If you need anything, just give me a holler.
Hello?
Hi, can I speak to Noah?
Speaking.
This is Emmett Brown. I'm replying to your message from Ancestry.com.
Oh, yes! Thank you so much for calling. I'm currently working on a
Yes, I
central...
saw. The first Emmett Brown works for Alan Campbell as a lab assistant, though he didn't speak much of it. On his deathbed, he gave me a box full of the strangest mementos, like notes without context, letters, and photos of strangers.
Oh, really? If it's not too much trouble, Dr. Brown, can you possibly photocopy and email it to me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
My only regret is that we will never meet in the afterlife.
It was heartbreaking. I'm grateful that the Browns family saved all this evidence, and I'm grateful that they shared it with us. It seems like Alan's mother saved all this evidence and gave it to Emmett Brown with hope for eventual vindication. There's definitely a strong circumstantial evidence that proves Alan was coerced into hiding a crime. And I believe we are one step closer to finding Basil.
Ignore all this. I did a project before coming here. The question is, what happens when you combine nitric acid, electric battery, a coil of steel and platinum wires, and 2 iron clamps? Some of these can be used as a simple experiment for a light or a telegraph. But all these together, and with a heat source of 300 degrees Fahrenheit or more, it can actually be used as an accelerated process of cellular decomposition. As you can see, the heat caused by generated electrical currents within the molecules increases the reactions of the acid until it undergoes thermal decomposition, accelerating the breakdown of the genetic material. Comparatively speaking, it takes the body up to 12 hours to decompose in sulfuric acid and 3 hours in a heated specialized lye solution. This process should take about 6 hours. While researching Dorian, I put in a call to the current owners of his home. They had recently moved in and no way connected to Dorian nor affiliated. Interestingly enough, I received an email with this picture. It seems that while renovating, they found this watch in a fireplace of the schoolroom. Though, unfortunately, while printing, the results did not turn out as what I thought it was going to be. Luckily, with technology today, I'm able to zoom in. I see the key difference on the online. There's more color into it. And as I'm zooming in, see all the burn marks coming on. What's that in the middle? This is a big finding. And this is the evidence we were looking for. I think we know who it is. I think we know what happened to Basil. After going over each witness account of what happened the night of November 9th, 1909, the mystery surrounding the disappearance of Basil became clear. That's when I realized that Basil was not missing. Basil Hallward was killed. It's clear that within the evidence there's one constant: Dorian Gray. And the question is, why? From his journals, we can deduce that Dorian Gray most probably suffered schizophrenia. From what we know from the article Schizophrenia by Murray Pacino, schizophrenia is a long-term mental health condition that causes a range of different psychological symptoms, including hallucinations, delusions, paranoia, and changes in behavior. This illness is present most commonly in men in their late adolescence or young adulthood. In the journal, dated June 8, 1891,
we can see the earliest form of Dorian's psychosis in the form of delusions. Delusions are fixed beliefs that seem real to the person, even when there's strong evidence they aren't. Dorian had written, I had uttered a mad wish that I, myself, might remain young, and the portrait grow old, that my own beauty might be untarnished, and the face on the canvas bear the burden of my passions and my sins, that the painted image might be seared with the lines of suffering and thought, and that I might keep all the delicate blooms and loveliness of my then just conscious boyhood. It is in my opinion that Dorian Gray suffered from acute progressive paranoid schizophrenia, due to the mental illness likely caused by neglected and abused childhood. Paranoid delusions can cause a person to fear that others are watching them or trying to harm them, and that can sometimes make them feel threatened or angry. Many times, such episodes have been related to hallucinations. For example, a person may hear something tell them to do harmful things, or see things that aren't really there. I believe that Dorian suffered from such hallucinations. It is well documented that Dorian Gray was a chronic opium user. The American Psychiatric Association states that schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders, that schizophrenics, are more susceptible to substance abuse. I believe it is reasonable to say that Dorian, who suffered from paranoid schizophrenia exacerbated by prolonged substance abuse, was fully capable of having a psychotic attack against another person. For over a century, the mystery that surrounds Basil Hallward went unsolved and unknown. But through hard work and determination, we were finally able to solve what may have been the last moments of Basil's life. But Basil has never really been gone. He has and will continue to live on through his art. As to where or what happened to Dorian Gray, that's the real mystery.